recording. Yes. So today is the launch, the opening of the ESDP Online Academy. ESDP stands for Entrepreneurial Skills Development Program. And this is part of a broader initiative that has the aim of helping people who attend the program to think in an entrepreneurial way and increase the impact of their research. You will hear a lot more about the whole program as we move through it. And first of all, we have a real it's a pleasure. I will be introducing our keynote speaker a bit later. We have Simone Severini among us attending and presenting, and he's the director of quantum computing at Amazon Web Services, and he will be giving us some insights and ideas and he's also one of the members of the expert team for the whole program. And as this is the metaphor that we used for the ESDP Online Academy is that of a rocket that is shooting into the sky with ideas and innovations. And as every rocket, it requires a crew. And it's a real honor to present to you the three main members of the crew. So we have Joanna Fuhlman, scientific officer at DLR. Please, Joanna, say a couple of words to present yourself, and then you can pass the floor to Ilka and Claire.
Hello and welcome everyone from Bonn, Germany. My name is Johanna Fuhlman, as introduced by Paolo. Thank you so much, Paolo, for hosting us today. I will mainly take care of the crew of the explorers that are joining us on the ESDP rocket journey this year. We will do quite a lot of sessions together, work on your vision, on your project, where you want to go. Take your career and your research impact further. We're going to do some knowledge builds, which we hear about what it is later today. Just looking forward to work with you. Thanks. And I pass on to my colleague Ilka.
Thank you, Johanna. Also welcome from my side. My name is Ilka Wendt. I'm also working at DLR Project Management Agency based here in Bonn. And I will later explain a little bit more about the content and what the ESDP is really about. Passing on the floor to Claire.
Hi, everyone. My name is Claire Chen. I'm the Director of Global Initiative at Ancura, based in Washington, D.C. I'll be responsible for getting the mission specialist to work with a participant, but also the weekly lecture. And back to you, Paolo.
Thank you, Claire. As we are happy to also know, we will use the system Mentimeter to have some feedback from the participants to collect the questions and the answers. So the first thing, I invite Ian to share also in the chat a link that allows you to join from your browser and directly just to know as we are traveling through with this rocket, where are you connecting from? Where are you speaking? Where are you connecting from? So we have people now from Germany, USA. Yes, mostly Germany, USA, Italy, yes. Let's see. So to send your contribution, you can use the link that was placed in the chat, plus also the code that's above here, www.menti.com, and code 29493452. If you want, yes. And so we have someone also from Italy and BTU. More people from Germany. Albania, welcome. Yes, and also the possibility, there is a possibility directly to join with the link I'm going to put in the chat here. That makes it easier because it's a direct browser link for you to open. So Georgia, France, welcome. And now, as we move along, I will explain that there is a mechanism through Menti where you can also send your questions while we have the pitch. So at the bottom of your screen, you will have a possibility of writing questions, also voting the questions if you like someone else's question. Now there are no questions, but in a moment there will be more questions from you, especially as I'm going to introduce our keynote and the other people also to ask questions about the program. So the question part is so there, how to find and connect with a mentor. There is already one. So if you like one of these questions, you just put a like signal on your system, and then we will know which questions have been answered and which still need to be answered. So this is now the time when normally you have the drums rolling, and I'm going to introduce our keynote speaker, Simone. And when I introduce you, Simone, we will also ask a few more questions to participants to know more about them so that you can also pitch your presentation. So Simone is also from Tuscany, where I am based. I'm based in Pisa at the moment, but he's actually living in Seattle. Simone is started and manages the quantum technologies division of Amazon Web Services, AWS. And as a professor of physics of information at the University College of London, he initiated a university industry collaboration with enterprises like Google, Lockheed Martin, and Siemens. He helped funding some of the first quantum computing startups in the world, including Quantinuum, formerly Cambridge Quantum Computing, and Phasecraft. He served as an expert for research organizations and funding agencies, including the Oak Ridge National Lab and the National Science and Engineering Research Council of Canada, and for some of the largest venture capitals worldwide. While at Amazon Web Services, he launched Amazon Braket, the first services that integrates in the cloud prototypes of quantum processors. He contributed to found the AWS Center for Quantum Computing in partnership with Caltech, and AWS Center for Quantum Networking in partnership with Harvard University. So what an honor to have you with us, Simone. And really, it's a pleasure I'm really curious to hear what your presentation will be about. In the meantime, I'm just, and please also pitch in, we are going to ask people, the participant, a few questions about the sector, if they have some idea for a product or service. Don't hesitate to also chime in while I'm asking the questions, also with your interpretation of the importance of the questions we are going to ask. So the first question is, what sector are you in as a participant? Government, academia, nonprofit, industry, other? So here you can just send your answer directly from the system. and we have people from academia, government, nonprofit, and industry. Industry well, it would be you, Simone, of course. And I move to another question then. I just remind people that if you want to answer to the questions, there's a link in the chat and also the code to send your answers. So a couple of more people from industry, a balanced group of participants. So I move to the next one. Do you have an idea for a product or service? As the entrepreneurial skill development program is really to enhance, to give the opportunity for your product or service, for your research and innovation to become a successful product or service. It's interesting to know if the participants that are here have an idea for a product or service, and then we will discover more about this as you attend the program as a participant in the ESDP program. So yes, a high majority of the participants have a product or service. Let's go a bit more into the fine-tuning what is your sector of innovation or research. And here we have 7 alternatives plus other. So medicine, food, e-commerce, energy, electronics, IT, entertainment. So just while you are positioning yourself, we give you a few more minutes to send your preference. We have several others, so it would be interesting to also, I'm curious to also know what are the other sectors of innovation and research. But we can do that in the closing question and answer discussion. So I move forward. And as you know, ideas and concepts can be at different stages. So basic research, demonstration in the lab or animal, demonstration in the field, clinic, validation trials, and the last one now is hidden, but it will appear as we get answers. So I'm giving you a few seconds to send your replies. Dynamic answers coming up. So most of the ones answering here are in the idea, basic research, 60%. Then 17% in the validation trials and 17, well, more, a bit more in validation trials, and 14 into production. That's the final stage. So if you need a couple of seconds more to answer. Are these giving you some insights, Simone? Good. And next one. As we are really pooling some of the best brains and hearts around innovation and around research, as team, as crew for the ESDP, we also would like to know which are the areas where you feel that you may need most support. So in the engineering, in the business, in the regulations and standards, in the legal, in the marketing, funding, other. So if you have an idea for a product or service, and what are the most burning points on which you would like the ESDP crew and the experts to provide their advice. So most of you are focusing on regulations and standards, on funding. funding has gone up now, and business dimension, which is really the focus of the ESDP in terms of transforming your idea research into a business opportunity, legal and marketing, and so on. And last question, what type of researcher innovator are you? And here you have 5 choices: an experienced applied science researcher, an experienced basic science with potential commercial, early career researcher, basic science non-commercial, or if none of the others apply, other. So here we have answers coming in. And Simone, as I collect the last answers, in a few seconds, the floor will be yours, so you can get your slides or what you like ready for the screen to be shared. I don't know if anyone else from the crew would like to comment, but here we have a balance between experienced applied, experienced basic, and more early career researchers as researcher innovators. So thank you for all the answers to all the ones that have provided their answers, and I give you a few seconds if you need still to submit them. And now the floor is yours, Simone, for you to make your presentation. I just remind everyone that from the same Menti link, you can also send questions for the Q&A, and we will be very happy to reply to them in the last part of the session. So, Simone.
Sure. Thanks, Paolo. Thanks for having me, first of all. I'd be happy to, if that's okay, I'd be happy to answer questions during my presentation, if that's fine. So please, while I'm talking, actually, I think it would be most useful if indeed while I'm talking, if the participants have anything that they want to ask, please do interrupt me, and maybe if we can make this session interactive, is going to be more valuable. So thanks again for having me. Very quick background. So Paolo spent a minute saying something about what I've done so far. Let me try to summarize in a sentence or two where I come from and the trajectory in which, so my trajectory so far, professional trajectory. So first of all, Paolo mentioned that we have something in common. I was born in Italy and I grew up in a small town. I can't really call it village, town. So in Tuscany, central Italy, and my so I'm the first person in my family that got a academic degree. So I didn't have, now talking a second about career trajectory, I was very privileged, I think, because I had the opportunity to choose high school I wanted, first of all. So in Italy, there were at least, and I still believe there are, different type of high schools. Classic studies, more science oriented, more professional studies oriented. So I did classic studies, mostly because my friends decided to study in a specific school. So and by the way, schools were free, right? So there was no private schools where I grew up. So when I finished high school, I had no clue really about what to do. And I ended up to study chemistry for a year. It was a mistake because I was very much unfocused and the transition between studying high school and university was very, very hard. I didn't have a good method for studying. And you may say, okay, but why is he telling us about this? Because I would like to convey the following message. So at university, I started studying something that I believed was interesting, but then with time I realized that it was not. And I had the on one side the possibility, on the other side I was maybe wise enough, I'm not sure if this is the right term, to decide that this was not what I should have done. So in fact, after a year that I studied chemistry, I dropped out, and I enrolled myself in a course of philosophy at the University of Florence, still in Tuscany. And this transition between studying chemistry, so technical subject, and philosophy was very good for me, because I felt that I had a better method to learn. And then with time, I think that this method changed, but this decision that I made not to stay there and keep studying the same subject, and I was failing, as a matter of fact. So, you know, at the time there was mandatory military draft in Italy, so I was leaving for a year to serve in the army if I was not going to progress with positive results at university. So moving from, let's say, from chemistry to philosophy was very important for me, and it required some taking some risks. So I managed to graduate in the end, and still I had no clue about what I wanted to do. But I became very much, I really started liking the interface between quantum physics and computers at the very abstract level, very far from engineering, very far from what would be in the real world, how would I interpret the interface of quantum physics and computers today. But this somehow clarified in my mind an area where I started focus, and I started to narrow down what I really thought was interesting. By the way, Richard Feynman, Nobel Prize for Physics, cite Richard Feynman way too often, we quote Richard Feynman way too often, but so you say, doesn't matter what you really do, as far as you fall in love with something which is narrow enough, then a universe opens up, and this happened in my case. So the fact that I focused something very narrow allow me to clarify in my mind the directions to follow a specific path, and try to be successful for what success means as a student at university. I try to be successful in that path. So I graduated, and it was very much clear that I wanted to stay in academia. So I applied for a PhD. At the time, I didn't have much of an idea what a PhD was. Nobody really explained to me what it meant to do a PhD. But this was about mid-90s. So I started going on the internet, which was a bit tricky because I had no internet at home, of course, and there was a computer in the city council in my village. So I was going there once in a while and trying to download some scientific papers from there and learn where people around the planet were actually working in quantum computing. So I really got interested in this area. So interplay between computers and quantum physics. So at the time, there were not many people working in quantum computing, in fact, very few. But what was very interesting is that there was the archive, the repository for scientific papers. This is really crucial. Now, the fact that there is out there a place where you can download for free scientific papers that you can read, and you can see where the authors come from. You can make yourself some kind of mental map of what is happening. And now, of course, the archive is a super famous repository for scientific papers. All scientists at least in physics and maths, routinely post papers there. But you see, this is the power of the open source, right? So if at the time I had to go on the internet and trying to download scientific papers for journals and I had to pay, there was no way that I was going to download anything, right? So to say this, to follow this, I decided to apply for a PhD in various places. And I had a good CV. I had a good CV in the sense that my academic performance as a philosophy student was okay. And so I was fortunate that that I managed to get some offers, and I decided to move to the UK. I did my PhD in Bristol, which that is a place that had a strong tradition in quantum physics historically. And I did my PhD with one of the people that really started my field of research, which was quantum computing. So his name is Richard Josa. He retired a few years ago. His last academic post was he worked as director for the Quantum Information and Foundation Institute in Cambridge, the University of Cambridge. So Richard somehow was very much open-minded to give me the opportunity to study with him, even if my background was very weak. So I was coming from philosophy. I didn't have a strong background in physics. In fact, my background in physics was basically non-existent. So Richard's PhD advisor, his own PhD advisor, was Roger Penrose. So Roger Penrose got the Nobel Prize for Physics a couple of years ago, and I suppose that the perspective of these people was, you can learn. What we care is really creative. What we care about is really creativity, being open-minded, and everybody can learn. So Richard was very kind with me because he gave me the opportunity to study there. As I said, despite I didn't have a strong technical background, and it was very difficult. So it was really, really difficult. So I put all the energy I had in trying to grow as a scientist, but it was very, very hard. So I managed to finish my PhD. I don't know how. So I managed to write some scientific papers that to me today are still pretty much irrelevant. You know, I say this in full honesty. I'm not trying to have a false, trying to be falsely humble, but I need to be realistic. And I could see that there were some people in my area, you know, people were working at MIT, UC Berkeley, Munich, Cambridge, Oxford, Imperial College, you know, big places, and they have much stronger background than I had, but I managed to keep going. And I did my postdoc. You know, after your PhD, you do your postdoc. And again, I started, interesting enough, when I started my PhD, I had no idea what was my very narrow specific area of interest. But with time, in my mind, started crystallizing some specific thing. So I said during my undergrad, I started getting interested on the interplay between physics and computer science. And then my PhD, I started to be interested in the interplay between quantum computing and graph theory. So quantum computing and a specific area of mathematics. So you see, keep going down order of magnitude to more precise things. And these gave me the opportunity to become an expert in that, right? So not that is a topic that we care enormously, you know, it's not a topic that is particularly impactful. So I didn't solve problems that really move the needle in my field, but I acquired that competencies that that not many people out there had, right? Because when you start going down, the rabbit hole of the sectorization of science, it's important to become an expert in a very precise thing. Sure, there are generalists out there, but if you want to say something non-trivial about science, you need to narrow down yourself to a precise place. Today, science is big. There are thousands and thousands and thousands of people looking into science. And of course, we would ideally want to focus on problems that are impactful, that can change science, that can have an impact on society, be beneficial for everyone. But to do that, we need to understand that We need to become an expert in a very specific thing. Then with time, this specific thing can change because of interaction with other people, because of interaction with our collaborators, with our colleagues, with our co-authors, people we work together, people we write papers together. But it's important to become the expert, because, you know, when you are at home and your sink is broken, your sink leaks, you need to call the plumber, right? You don't call a generalist. You call the expert that knows how to fix sinks. And this happens in science as well. It sounds trivial, but to me, it's a crucial point. So I did my postdocs, and I managed, this sounds like a strong statement, I managed to survive in academia, mostly because of the interaction I had with people that were technically stronger than myself. I think I have good intuition for problems. I can sense if a problem is interesting. I can sense if a problem could be solvable, by the way, which is also, I believe, an important point when we do science. But technically, I wasn't. I'm not strong. By the way, I'm not a scientist anymore, so I'll tell you in a second where I am these days. But interaction with people and being and try to understand what it needs really to solve a problem, what skills are needed to solve a problem, I think is another crucial thing. Okay. You know, if you want to, there's a saying, I'm not sure if it's an American saying, if you want to eat a apple pie, either you cook it yourself or you get it from someone that knows how to cook apple pies, right? So it's the same story. So you are an expert of something very narrow. There would be other 3, 4, 5, 7 experts out there for other narrow areas that connected with your area are going to create value. So the power of collaboration is fundamental. I see that now. So now, of course, I work as a manager. I don't do science anymore. So now somehow that perspective turned into the power of delegation. Okay, so from power of collaboration is it translates, the power of collaboration translates into the power of interaction with other people and the power of figuring out who are the people that are better than you in doing something, that have the right skills for doing something, and then potentially agree with them what to delegate if you are in a corporate structure. So I did my postdocs. I managed to get a permanent academic job. This was at UCL, University College London in the UK. Why? Because I got a grant of the Royal Society. I got a fellowship. There are scientists here in the room. So a fellowship gives you the opportunity to focus without too much pressure on what you think creates value, right? So we should, in my opinion, today, well, not just in my opinion, as we know today, there's lots of pressure in science. We need to apply for funding. We need to focus on delivering results associated with the funding that we got. But fellowships are sometimes, specifically for early career researchers, are a phase in which we can say, okay, now I can focus really on creating value, on generating knowledge that can be reused later, rather than trying to satisfy some specific criteria of success that have to do with the grant proposal that I submitted. So because of the fellowship, I settled down at UCL, and then I became full professor there via the usual itinerary that we need to go through in the academic career. So while I was at UCL, and this now starts, so what I'm saying will move slowly from academia towards industry. When I was at UCL, I found an environment that was very interesting because of the cross-fertilization between academia and industry. London is an exciting place, was an exciting place when I was there. A lot of startups, a lot of companies coming out from UCL. So just to mention maybe one of the most famous ones that was associated with UCL in a way or another during the last decade was DeepMind. DeepMind was a startup that interested in working artificial intelligence, was acquired by Google. their headquarters is still in proximity of UCL in London. Lots of people in the Department of Computer Science at UCL were coming up with startups. So I was doing physics, right? Physics and some theoretical computer science. So didn't really come to my mind the possibility of doing something in the industry. Of course, at the time there were already some large enterprises that were looking into quantum computing. I remember Microsoft started looking into quantum computing in 2001, which is over a couple of decades ago. IBM and people doing quantum information theory, as a matter of fact, from the 80s. But the idea of starting a company working in quantum computing, and by the way, quantum computing, as you know, is about using quantum physics for either for processing information or for transfer, for securing communications, or for other protocols that have to do with transferring information or sensing, like measuring like magnetic fields or measuring some quantities out there. So, but anyhow, at UCL, I saw a number of people that started working in startups. There was a good amount of capital, but I didn't think that was even plausible for someone working in physics and theoretical computer science to do something in industry unless one was going to work with one of the large enterprises. Well, I was wrong. It turns out that this field, quantum computing, grew. There were more and more investments, and people outside from funding agencies started to see an opportunity. Venture capitals started to see that maybe there was something interesting in quantum computing that was important to support. So I think it was 2015, if I'm not mistaken, I started with some colleagues of mine, all scientists, a consulting business. The name was Q&I. The first consulting business in the world for quantum technologies. So there were companies, enterprises coming to us asking us to give them some feedback about the field, if it was interesting or not to do anything in the field. And so the field, this small company that we had survived for a few years. We shut it down at some point. But to me, it was interesting because I started understanding what you need to do in order to start a company. And of course, we started talking to VCs, started talking to people that are interested in investing. And I met Elias Khan at the time, that was the CEO of a startup called Cambridge Quantum Computing, that now is called Quantinum. Is a fairly large company. And in fact, there are some numbers on the internet that show that this company now is, if you look at the valuation, is probably north of $20 billion. And there are over 500 people working there full time after they merged with a piece of Honeywell. And because of him, I really became engaged with industry and had a closer understanding of what it means to raise capital and what it means to write a deck for raising capital, and realistically, what is an interesting idea that could be potentially important for investors. So what are investors looking at when they want to when they're looking at startups that are raising capital? So to me, this was a fundamental experience, and an experience that it brought me again even closer and closer to industry. So in the end, I left academia and I joined Amazon Web Services to launch an entirely new initiative here, where I had to do where I had to learn the culture of Amazon. The culture of Amazon is very peculiar, and everything that is built here is built on the basis of some questions that we ask. So first, what is the customer? Second, what is the customer problem? So these to me are the most crucial questions. So when you try to determine how to, I saw some of the answers, of the questions that Paul was asking were related to products. and maybe moving research to products. Every time that you try to build something in industry, according to the Amazon culture, you should ask, what is the customer? So to identify the customer, this is step number one. And trying to write a document that here is a 6-pager. So it's 6 pages document, very short, very concise, crisp, where you should not fool yourself about what you're going to do. So you should be as realistic, as concrete, as practical as possible. And this document should, first of all, say, what is your customer? And second, what is the customer problem? Third, if you solve the problem, how you're going to impact the customer. So focusing on customer before anything else. So this, and I think this is the key of let's say my presentation here. So focus, right? So as an academic, of course, focus on a narrow area where you become an expert. So meaning you focus on something where a problem needs to be solved. When you move to industry, same story. Even more importantly, focus. You know, there are some people out there that say, you should find a niche of the market that is not served. You should try to analyze how large is the market. You know, it's very difficult to you know, there are some markets that don't even exist. So it's basically impossible to determine how large is a market. And of course, it's I don't want to say it's risky to take decisions on the basis of what you believe is the size of the market. Everything is risky, right? And actually, we need to take risks. It's fundamental. You know, we need to, in order to move forward, some risks need to be taken. But the key question to ask is, what is the customer? And try to write it down. And to do that, one should talk to people. One should, again, interaction with people. Interaction with people in academia, also interaction with people in industry. So ask people what is their pain point to try to productivize something on the basis of their pain. Because if you productivize something that solves a problem for customers, then you win. Because then you create value and you don't base your decision on the fact that the market, you heard that the market is very large, or you heard, and don't be fooled by technology. You know, everybody says, oh, my technology is very cool. What does it mean? Every technology is cool. It's your creation. Of course it's cool, right? I mean, you work so long on something that you love it, right? No, we should not get fooled by the coolness of technology. We should focus on customers. What is the customer problem? And if you solve that problem, what is the impact on the customer? This is going to create value that is going to be measurable, because you can go back to the customer and get feedback and iterate very quickly, back and forth. Do you think now you feel better about this? Now that we build that thing? Yes. Okay. Do I need to change anything? You need to change this. Yes. Okay. And keep going. So these 2 points I want to leave you with. The key message is focus on something very narrow. Second, trying to satisfy customers, focusing on a customer problem, like them being focused on your technology discovery. So thanks, Claire. I'm a minute over time, but happy to answer questions.
No problem. Thank you, Simone. I think we can hear you. We can listen to you for hours and hours. It's quite beneficial.
Yes, I among us, we were saying, oh my God, there is that. No, let's keep Simone talking because he's spot on. This is what Simone's trajectory, how you moved. Also the importance, you mentioned it twice, that you raised on the importance of public, free education and free access to knowledge. That was a fundamental thing. If you had to pay for the papers and things, so open science. And the bridge that you made between the different, the fact that you were moving between disciplines from chemistry, philosophy. I mean, it's fascinating. We didn't want to interrupt you. We know that you have some interesting slides too, but that's the cherry cake for the people who will participate in the ESDP program. So we will have more opportunities to also have your experience and wisdom.
Yeah, sure. And one quick thing. I mean, the attendees, I'm very happy to. Please do get in touch. I'm happy to share my LinkedIn account, or you can find it easily, just my name, surname, and please do reach out. I'm happy to answer any question. I'm happy to share specific experiences with you, and I want to be useful.
Thank you very much, Simone. That's the spirit. We have some questions coming in. I asked the crew members if we want to address the questions now, or if we want to go through a brief explanation of ESDP program and then leave a few minutes for the Q&A.
I think also Simone has a cutoff. That's go through 2 questions for Simone, and then we say goodbye for Simone briefly, and maybe people can connect with Simone offline or online on LinkedIn. So let's go through maybe the top 2 questions.
Okay, so Simone, thank you for sharing your journey. When you're talking about an expert, what is your recommendation to become an expert? What is the key element to become an expert?
I think that the key element is to fall in love with something. It sounds a little bit new age, no? You fall in love with
Italian,
something.
it sounds Italian.
So
I'm joking, but it's
I
true.
think that, yeah, I think that you want to do something that that gives us that for which you have a sense of purpose, right? So if you work in something because you are forced to work in something, it's very hard. So whenever you can, you are lucky, I would say, to identify an area where that is very close to your heart, then you feel better because you find a sense of purpose. And now, of course, there is a little bit of, let's say, egotistic perspective here, right? So a sort of selfish perspective. Like, should we do something that that we like versus something that is useful for other people? You know, obviously, is a trade-off, but everything turns out to be useful, in my opinion, in the moment that you do it in the right way, and in the moment that you try to have an open mind about, again, going back to this transition academia industry. It's about solving problems, right? So even in academia itself, sure, intellectual work can be fun, but you want to create value. So the moment in which you can see that you create value by doing something, then it means that you're an expert, right? And this cannot, you know, there's no specific metric for your expertise. You can't say I'm an expert at level 7, I'm an expert at level 9, I'm an expert because I got 15 degrees. What does it mean? You got 15 degrees, it means that you studied 15 different things. Doesn't mean that you're an expert. Expert means that you can concretely contribute to something and change it, be impactful. You know, when you can sort of measure even vaguely the impact that you had, then you are an expert. So 2 things: fall in love with something, get a sense of purpose, and try to determine whether what you are doing while you become an expert is changing things. So if you have an effect on the outside world, then you are becoming an expert, and is valuable.
Just to chime in, there is a state quote from Van Gogh that used to say, what you do with love is done well. Vincent van Gogh. Yeah.
So that's of course it's a bit problematic, right? Because there is this selfishness component. But yes, on one side is something we can appreciate. On the other side, it's important to add this aspect connected with the impact. Like you see, if I read 200 books, am I an expert? I'm not an expert. I'm someone that has read 200 books. I'm an expert in the moment what I read in that 200 books can be applied to something for making a difference.
Makes a difference, has an impact. Well, there is another question. I think it's partly was answered by can you say a few words about research impact? I'm studying theoretical physics, which falls in basic research, and I'm struggling to understand what will be my research output and impact. Yeah,
so you see, this is a beautiful, deep topic that requires a lot of attention. So today, there is many more people than in the past doing science, And what we need, in my opinion, we need some people that would focus on certain problems that have clear societal impact. But we need to have some people that can have the freedom of thinking about what they believe is interesting, because the impact of science can be obvious only after many years, right? So it's not something that you can see tomorrow. Sure, there are some areas, think about machine learning, for example, today, or some material science or pharmacology, where the impact is fairly immediate. You can't see that because you design new medicines, you design, I don't know, new batteries for storing energy, you design new algorithms for doing interesting stuff. But then when it comes to an area like theoretical physics, so let me give you an interesting example which I like. So this was mentioned to me by Sir Peter Knight, that is a UK scientist, a veteran of he's a theoretical physicist, in fact. So he told me the story of Faraday. So Faraday was looking at electromagnetism, right? So, and he was at some minister, some member of the government at the time that went to visit him in his lab, and Faraday was showing I think iron on top of some paper and a magnet underneath, and you can see these interesting configurations happening on the paper, and the minister said, okay, what's the point of this, right? And Faraday answered something like, one day, sir, you will tax it. So, one day, sir, you will pay taxes on this, right? So meaning that even science that seems to be very far from having a real world impact, one day can generate value. Now, of course, this is an anecdote that on one side is funny, on the other side is it can open a very lengthy discussion about what it means to fund science, what kind of science should be supported, what are the mechanisms to support science. But for the theoretical physicists in the room, don't worry. Focus on doing good science, which is honest research of something that you believe is deeply interesting, that the community believe is deeply interesting, and don't get into a silos, isolated from the rest of the world. Interact with people, and then this on one side will be very fulfilling for you, and in the long run will be useful for society as well.
Well, your pitch, your introduction was really inspiring, and so we really look forward to your involvement within the program. We know you have to now run away, so really thank you so much, Simone, for your honest and open and connecting the dots from your experience at the moment, and we look forward to hear more from you during the ESDP program. Now I give the floor to Ilka. Ilka will introduce the program. So Ilka, also you can share the slides deck, and Ilka will describe the ESDP overview. Then we have a brief introduction from Emanuela Saracino, a participant, and then again Joanna as well as her. So Ilka.
Yes, thank you, Paolo. And again, hello and welcome to everybody. After this very inspiring motivational input from Simone, I will now briefly talk about the ESD program itself and what we want to do with it and what you can expect when you register to the program. But before we really dive into the agenda and the structure of the program, I would like to take a moment and maybe we can look together at this little poor guy here, and maybe you can relate to some of his questions. He has this great idea in mind, and he's also thinking, just like one of the questions that just came in, how can I be an expert in a certain area, but maybe once I'm there, where do I get the money to really develop my product further? What do I really need to know about licensing? Where can I get a mentor? So those are all the questions that maybe you have in mind right now, and we are here to help you answer some of these questions, hopefully. So this is what the Entrepreneurial Skills Development Program is about. It's a 4-week online practical applicative training, and we really want to spark your entrepreneurial mindset during this program and help you to boost your individual research impact. So if you are a motivated early or mid-career EU researcher, which we have seen in the poll before, a lot of those are here today on board. And if you're enthusiastic also to commercialize your research idea, your product or your service into the US, the ESDP really is the right program for you. So our mission is twofold. We do want to give you the necessary skills and trainings and also network to succeed in the US, but we also want to encourage and facilitate your bold innovation and your entrepreneurial skills. This is the structure of our program. So as I said, it's a 4-week-long program. We start every Thursday with a video lecture, very similar to the lecture we have right now, covering different topics and important aspects of your entrepreneurial journey. After each lecture, you will receive an individual exercise, a homework, so to say, which you will work on during the week, covering the topics and aspects of entrepreneurial mindsets and skills covered before in the lecture. And then on Wednesdays, we meet again in interactive crew sessions where we all come together to discuss what you've been learning over the course of the week, discuss maybe problems that came up, share some best practices and experiences, and really come together and discuss the topic of the week. And during the week, we have also the possibility to meet with specific mentors, bright minds such as Simone today, and you will have the possibility to schedule one-on-one feedbacks and to discuss further in depth your research idea with those mentors, which come from different areas all over the US and are here to help you in your journey. And now Claire will cover more about the agenda we have set up for you. Claire.
Thank you, Yoka. As Yoka mentioned, the program is supposed to be a holistic journey to walk you through from starting your business idea, but that also include what Simone had mentioned earlier, discover your customer, focus on the idea of your product, either could be a research product, research idea, or commercialization product, and then build your career path based on that passion, based on that focus, and also build your knowledge to understand the proper framework for collaboration in United States. That includes intellectual property management, type of different intellectual properties that you should know before you even think about launching your company or applying for patent, all the way to the end, accelerate your ideas, where to find funding. I saw earlier that funding was one of the key issue people would like to learn. And this is where the last week we will talk about how to look for funding opportunities, a fundamental of establishing partnership agreements and different type of sponsor that you may be able to reach out to. And next slide, please. And throughout the weeks, we will including, of course, we have Simone, but several of the mission specialists and mentor that you can get in touch on a one-on-one basis to ask questions from scientific career all the way to venture development, startup coaching, but also publication, understanding research impact, compliance issues in United States, and many more. And we will, three of us, Joanna, Yoka, and I will be holding your hand along the way, and I will hand it over to Joanna.
Actually, we are handing over to Emanuela right now. So I'm very pleased to introduce everyone to Emanuela Saracino, who was a past participant in the first edition for the Pioneers. Emanuela, you are telling us a little bit about your experiences, and please let's give let us get some insights from what you have learned. What was the best part for you?
Okay, so first of all, good morning and good afternoon to everybody. And I'm Emanuela Saracino. So today I will give you a little bit an overview of my experience as a participant of the first edition of the SDP Academy. And if you can go to the next slide. Okay, so who and where I am. I'm a neuroscientist and I'm located in Bologna, that is a beautiful city, middle-aged city in the north of Italy. And I belong to the Italian Research Council. I'm part of the permanent staff of the Institute for the Organic Synthesis and Photoreactivity under the supervision of Dr. Vincenzo Palermo. But when I joined the SDP Academy, I was a research fellow. Now I'm part of the permanent staff, so I'm a neuroscientist. And what I do, I don't want to focus really much on which is my research, but when I joined the SDP Academy, and if you can go to the next slide, well, I put and press again the button. Okay, so why I put this slide? Because as you can see, the CNR was born in Italy 100 years ago, but just 49 companies and spin-off are born until the 2019 under the supervision of the CNR. So this means that sometimes in Italy it's very hard to build a startup or a private companies. And all of us know that there are two main categories of scientists, the ones who are focused on the basic research and the ones who want to transform their basic research in something that can be commercialized. And when I met Claire in the first time in 2017, she gave me the possibility to have a look to the program of the SDP Academy and to the first edition that started during summer of 2020, so really in the pandemic era. And this was very inspiring for me because I always felt in a sort of gap between these two categories of scientists. I always do and did in my past basic research, but I always think about the potential of our research in healthcare, and in particular in the therapies and diagnostic for brain pathologies. If you can go to the next slide. So this is just an overview of my academic and professional experience and when I started the SDP Academy. As you can see, I joined the CNR like a research fellow in 2013 after my graduation, but the SDP arrived to me as an opportunity in 2020 during the years of my PhD that I completed in 2022 with a thesis that was a sort of bridge between neuroscience and material science. This means that you can join to the SDP Academy if you are an early stage researcher or if you are a middle career researcher. And in the next, if you press, there is the beautiful certificate that I received, that I'm very proud to receive after the 4 weeks of training that we did together. And just to give you in the next slide an overview of what I do in my research and why it is really important to join the SDP Academy is that with my group, we decided to do a sort of revolution in the state of the art of neuroscience, because everybody think that the neurons are the most important cells in the brain, but it's not like so, because there are other cells that are called astrocytes that are really important. And actually, at the state of the art, there is no tools to study these cells and to study the impact of these cells in the physiology, but also in the pathophysiology. Think about Alzheimer's, epilepsy, for example. And if you go to the next one, okay, you can go. These are all the materials that we use and study. So I decide, as always, we have to do when we have to do a choice, to put together the list of advantages that I gained from this experience to participate to these 4 weeks of funny, practical, and applicative training. So first of all, I was in contact with more than one scientist in completely different fields that come from different countries of Europe. I have the possibility to really enrich my CV, because actually I'm the only one in Italy that I get this certificate. So I participate to the first edition of the SDP online academy. I learn how to shape, to develop, and to build and accelerate the possibility to transform the basic research we do in something that can be applicative. And also I learn how to connect the European, and in this case, the Italian research to the US organization, institution, and the US possibility that are really more than we have here in Italy. I have the possibility to meet and to be guided by mentors, as the ones as Simone or as Stefano Lami, that will participate to this one, to this second edition. And what it was really inspiring for me, as you can, if you can go to the next one slide, it was the possibility to have a talk completely different from the typical talk we have in Congress, in scientific Congress, because SDP gave me the possibility to do this online talk of 30 minutes, where we join, as you can see, more than 300 people, and I received more than 40 comments, and this was really a possibility to me to diffuse the idea of my research through the community, and really, as Simone said, to target the customers. And I remember that there was a person who was affected by a brain pathology that asked me a really inspiring question for my research. So at least ESDP also give me the opportunity to diffuse my contact. In the last slide, I just show all the people that I met during these years, and I have the possibility to collaborate in Italy, but also in US, especially in Maryland, where I spent some months during my research. And well, I want to thank all of you for this beautiful experience.
Thank you so much, Emanuela, for this great insight, and congratulations on your way forward, and how you are such an inspiration, and even to us, we were just saying or thinking you could just launch this ESDP even better than we can do, because you deep dived so much with us into the program, and it was such a fun having you and still have you on board, and look forward continuing our work with you. So for our next Explorer cohorts, we really invite you take the next steps with us with the ESDP Online Academy, and register for the full 4-week experience. We included here the link once again, that you can see how to register. We start on May 17th for the onboarding. And then we probably, we're going to start on May 25th with the week 1, and then we will be together for 4 weeks, and then these at the end of the process. We will have these knowledge pills that Emanuela mentioned. I really remember when you had this video and the hearts in the Facebook live event were flying to you, and the questions. It was such a cool event about really what she's doing, about her research impact, and really we want participants to help to shape your idea and your research with so many experts and the community. Next slide, Ilka. So yeah, let us guide you through it, and we are happy to help you out here once again. If you want to reach out, our contact details, and maybe before we sum up, I say a few words about the whole umbrella that we are under, which is Enrich Global, taking European innovation global. And next slide, you will see here that we have a vast family. So we are having Enrich in the USA, we have Enrich in Latin America and Caribbean. We are present in Africa and also in India and China. So even if you're interested in those markets, we focus now with this edition, obviously, on the US, but even if you're interested in other fields and markets, we can connect you. And on the next slide, you will see that what's the mission behind Enrich Global is that we build a real future for the innovation-related international collaboration. We support really with other organization initiatives and multipliers, all kinds of research and innovators like you are, to connect really internationally. And we do that by doing working trainings, workshops, business matchmakings, all kind of events. Next slide, please. These are our partners that we have co-founded Enrich Global with, and I will just say a couple of words about Enrich in the USA, which is on the next slide. This is the landing hubs and centers in the US that you can reach out to. There are a couple of more. It keeps changing, and our mentors are also working from other places, like in the home office, which is nowadays usual, as you all know. But here's a map to showcase where we are definitely physically also present, and to give you a sneak preview about what kind of events we are doing or where we can connect you. We have here a slide with the workshops, with PitchFest funding summits that we do, trainings, webinars, MedFest, etc., under the Enrich in the USA umbrella. And along the way from the ESDP, you will have dedicated video lectures with the real mentors and experts, like Simone Severini and those that Claire have pointed out, like Bob Smith from or Stefano Lamy, all real experts in the field about quantum science, but also many other fields. So we are open to all topics. It's not just us who will be, like, we are just holding your hand, Ilka, Claire, and me, and then connect you to the real experts. So let us know if you have any questions, if you need to have something sorted out with us before you think you are ready on board, but we hope we could convince you to already board now and register. And yeah, we look forward working with you.
Thank you, Joanna. Thank you, Manu, and thank you, Ilka.
You.
Yes, great, wonderful session.
And Paulo, I will let you wrap up.
Well, yes, wrapping up, you heard the value and the importance and the impact that the program can have, the entrepreneurial skills development program. So now take the initiative. There was a link shown in the slide, so you can, I don't know if we have the possibility also of putting it here, but anyway, there will be an email message to all the participants, both showing again the video of the presentation for those who couldn't attend today, and with the invitation to join. So we really would like to thank Simone Severini for the presentation, and all the crew, and Emanuela Saracino for the clear example of, well, the enthusiasm that you showed for the program that we did together. And yes, it's fun. It's not just, it's fun and it's useful. So do come and enjoy the process together with us. So thank you very much for attending and for sharing also your questions and your feedback.